In this lecture, we will explore the origins of metadesign and its main nature as theoretical and methodological approach to design practice. It concerns the articulation of the design process and the answers to some fundamental questions. How to unfold a project? What are the phases? What tools can I use to deal with it? How can I validate the most convincing solutions? Due to this methodological nature, metadesign assumes an instrumental role along the entire design process. It determines the sequence of actions, programmatic nature, the action's contents, what to do, and the specific discipline to be applied, how to do it. The validity of this concept is originally based on the assumption of design as a scientific process, able to address contemporary complexity. Instead of the simple proceeding by intuition, operational design methods permit to process complex problems by decomposing them into more easily able to be processed sub-issues. The modern movement in architecture and design contemplated the typical rationalist concept of considering design as a science. This ambition to achieve a scientific-driven planning process reached full maturation in the 60s and 70s. In 1962, in Introduction to Design, Morris Asimov, professor of the Faculty of Engineering of the University of California, developed a design philosophy that means to define the basic principles, the methodology, and the criteria for evaluating the validity of the results. This design philosophy is based on logic rules, such that the principles must form a coherent system and not contradict each other. In this framework recurs the term design science. This was first adopted by Buckminster Fuller. Shortly after, in 1966, Gregory got back to it. Other schematizations which followed soon after identified different phases but still maintained the same rational and linear structure. In the field of architecture, Christopher Alexander published Notes on the Synthesis of Form in 1964 and addressed the problem together with other researchers of the constitution of a scientific environmental morphology. In pattern language, Alexander, along with Sarah Ishikawa and Murray Silverstein, described 253 different design models that emerged from their observation and analysis. These form the basic guidelines for an out-of-time way of building, based on their calculations. In 1965, in the field of design, Bruce Archer wrote Systematic Methods for Designers, in which, in addition to function and production, the market also appears, also closely linked to the concept of need. The scientific study of man and his needs focused mainly on ergonomic aspects at this time. In 1970, Christopher Jones, in Design Methods Seeds of Human Futures, described and synthesized from previous studies a set of 35 methodologies transferred from different disciplines. Even in its various configurations, the model of the design process that emerges from these and other studies of this period is sequential, fundamentally divided into two distinct phases: the definition of the problem and the solution of the problem. The first phase has an analytical aspect in which all the problem elements are defined and all the requirements are specified. The second synthetic phase is when the different requirements are put into the system in order to find a solution. This apparently simple and objective model breaks with the crisis of modernity. These texts effectively testify the climate of trust in science and in the method that characterize all the project disciplines during this time. With the words of Guy Bonsipe, the methodology had become a ritual and science a totem. This time followed by a more peaceful attitude towards design methodology, and the ambitious hopes left room for more cautious considerations.